Hello, my name is Casen, and this is my 2011 G37. This car is known as the 4th generation Infiniti G series. It is known in Japan as the 12th generation Nissan Skyline. This one's the facelifted. It's got the updated grille. It's got independent fog lights. I think it looks a little better than the last version. This one has the updated 3.7 liter engine, the VQ37 VHR. Revs to 7,500 RPM. And in my opinion, sounds pretty good, even stock. 7-speed automatic transmission. This one has a open differential, but they do come with a VLSD or viscous limited slip differential. They also do come in a 6-speed manual, but unfortunately I do not have that. Coming around the car, we have stock 17-inch wheels wrapped in some Continental DWS 06s. Updated door handles, and this bottom indentation right here is new from the this new 2nd generation V36. It's got the silver trim around the windows. Mine's coming up a little bit. Coming around the back here, updated tail lights, the infamous G37 badge and Infiniti logo. This rear end is definitely quite bubbly. It's got this big rear bumper that kind of sticks out there, and dual exhaust. Coming under the hood here, I've got the only modification on this car, twin 2.5-inch Z1 cold air intakes that come all the way through behind the front grille right here. Makes it sound a little bit louder, a little bit more angry. This engine makes about 329 wheel horsepower and 279 foot-pounds of torque. It has a over square piston design, means it can rev pretty high. It allows it to reduce the piston velocity, but still, make some decent power. Dual overhead cams on both sides. Only on the intake side, it has a VVEL system, which is basically Nissan's VTEC. Hydraulic power steering, which I like, over the later Q50, which came with electric power steering and really ruined the feel of the car, in my opinion. I think that's it. Coming to the interior, we have beautiful 6-speaker car audio. We got 1 speaker here, 1 speaker here, 2 in the back, same on the other door. Infotainment screen, not really infotainment. It kind of just shows you the gas mileage and the audio adjustment settings. We have the automatic shift right here, the push button start, 2 cup holders, a pretty spacey, don't know what to call it, and a pretty good glove box that needs to be secured better. Dual heated seats in the front, cup holders in the door, and infamous Nissan window switches and locks. We have a real leather steering wheel, real leather seats, that includes the front and the back, and classic Infiniti. Of course, we have the clock in the middle of the dash.
What symbolism does the clock hold?
It's just in every Infiniti, so it's just kind of become their thing. They've removed it from, I think they removed it from the Q50, the later Q50 and Q60, but for Infiniti Gs and pretty much all Infinitis of the time featured a clock just like this. You can see that dash goes all the way up to 9,000 RPM. The TPMS, permanent TPMS light mod. That comes standard on almost every Infiniti. Of course, the warning light that doesn't like that there's no key inside. And we got that on camera, right? Turn that warning light off. Doesn't turn the permanent TPMS sensor light off, because why would it do that? Neither does new tires or new TPMS sensors. So this is my first car. Had it for about 4 to 5 years. I had it, got it in 2021, late 2021. Yeah, it's been very special to me. I hold it very dear. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of it. I'm gonna try to keep it as my daily driver. Clear the shield. everyday driving, it's honestly a breeze. Easy to say for me, but steering feels very, responsive, smooth. I can feel the road. It's a very, very comfortable ride. Soft suspension, but still has some good feel to it, some nice sports car feel to it. Yeah, overall, driving this car daily, I've driven this car all the way down the west coast to Arizona. Arizona is a 21, 25-hour drive, depending on what route you take, and this thing did it with the breeze with the back loaded.
So one thing I was thinking about was visibility, because it doesn't have exactly a coupe shape, but it has enough to be considered kind of a coupe.
It's a sedan, so I can pretty easily look over my shoulder, see my blind spot. I think those are called the C-pillars in the way back. Those don't really get in the way of anything. The visibility's decently good in this car.
So how's the suspension on low-speed driving?
It's pretty nice. You definitely notice potholes, even on these tires that I have. They're the thickest tires, so they also absorb some of the impact.
So slow down and go right. We can give ourselves a nice old gravel test.
You take the bumps at a reasonable speed, you don't really notice them. We just took that at, I want to say 10 miles an hour we're at, and the car's doing just fine. Even off-road, this car isn't bad. It's a little bumpy, obviously. This parking lot is this is a very, very bumpy parking lot, but bumps handles pretty well. Speed bumps is what I was talking about, where you really notice the difference between it and new cars. Just the amount of speed you can take over a bump without really noticing it. This car, you absolutely have to slow down. Car is a little front heavy. Naturally, the car is a little understeery. It is front weight bias. I think it's a 5347, which is noticeable. Like I said, around that corner, we were going pretty slow. It still felt a little understeer. It is a heavy car again. It's still really fun. Still, incredible for the price. This car accelerates pretty well. Has some good get up and go to it, which is nice for, merging on the highway. Even coming up this hill here, I'm able to go pretty decently fast, following the speed limits, of course. It has manual and sport mode, so I can move this over, put it in sport mode, which is also manual mode, where I can shift my gears manually. This car does come with paddle shifters. I do not have the paddle shifters, and as mentioned before, it also comes with a 6-speed, which I wish I had. What's also interesting about this car is the transmission, even though it has a sport mode and a regular, drive mode, it will, take into account the way that you have been driving. It's really cool how the car listens to you, guesses what you want based on your driving, but it does do a pretty good job of that. When you're driving, you just feel like the car is doing what you want, which is nice. A lot of other cars that are automatic, you spend a lot of time arguing with the transmission. It'll downshift when you don't want it to. It'll upshift when you don't want it to. This one, if you need a downshift quicker than the transmission is going to let you, you just hit that right there. Yeah, it's a pretty, connected drive. It shifts pretty smooth and fast. So the gear ratios are pretty good. The first 3 gears, I'd say, are pretty short. We're already in 4th right now, going 40 miles an hour, but kind of jumps 4th, 5th are pretty long. 6th, 5th, 6th, and 7th are also pretty short. So it is kind of an interesting gear ratio setup, but it's nice. It suits the engine well. It suits daily driving it well, and when you're pushing the car hard, it doesn't really bog down the engine when you get into those longer gears.
So it handles highway passing and highway driving pretty well as well?
Yeah, it's a great highway cruiser. You need to get around someone who's going slow. You just hit the gas a little bit, downshifts pretty quickly, and you can just be on your way.
So you're arguing with a transmission less than you typically would?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. The reason I hesitate is because mine is a little bit messy. I feel like I just need to change the fluid in it, but It's definitely a sporty transmission. It, you know, is more willing to do what you want, especially when you put it into sport mode. It does a pretty good job. You know, it'll downshift. You put it into sport mode, and it'll automatically, you know, you put it into sport mode, it'll automatically downshift 1 gear for you. I was just at like 1.5, now I'm at 2. You know, you kind of do have the power band everywhere in this car. Not really, but you know, you get your peak horsepower at 7,000 RPM. This car revs to 7.5. You get your peak torque at, I think, 5,200. You know, has more horsepower than torque. I think it has 332 horsepower at the crank and 280 foot-pounds of torque. But again, you do get those numbers pretty high up in the rev range. But I do think they're able to do that and still have it be a good daily driver because of the VVEL system. It's like you have 2 different camshaft profiles where you can, you know, have better fuel economy and more low-end torque in the low end, and you can still have the top end, the power all the way at the top, the torque all the way at the top, and it still feels, you know, when you push the car, it still feels, you know, real good, like a fast car. Okay, so right now we're at 20. Got it merge, and you just about got up to 55. I think it has a 0 to 60 of, it's like around 5 seconds. But yeah, you know, passing cars, I'm going slow. This guy's going 55, right? So, you know, you have to downshift sometimes to really get up there. Depends on how fast the lane next to you is going. If you want to accelerate 10, 15 miles an hour, you will have to hit the gas a little bit more to downshift and get that little extra bit of power. But for example here, no downshift, passing this guy, you know, we're going 5 miles an hour more now. It can do that in, what gear? We're in 6th gear out of 7.
So how's highway cruising on road trips? Because I know you have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, oh, it's awesome. I've taken this car down to Phoenix and back up. This car, honestly, is one of the better cars I've driven on a road trip. I will say the seats, these are the non-sport seats. This is a non-sport car. They are a little bit uncomfortable after a few hours. Mine is also slightly ripped down the center, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. You definitely, you know, get a little bit of uncomfortableness sitting in the seat for a few hours. Honestly, just driving this car doesn't really trail very much. Times it'll follow the grooves in the road, but that's normal for every car. That's more your tires. The suspension's really nice. I've stuffed the back full of stuff. I would say easily, you know, 200, 300 pounds of stuff, maybe even 400. And, you know, both ways from Arizona, drove this thing up and down it. It was completely fine. It was sitting pretty, it was happy. Honestly, I didn't even know I had a suspension issue with my upper control arm with 400 pounds of stuff in the back going up from Arizona. Didn't really notice. I noticed when I took all the stuff out and started to drive the car, you know, a little bit more spiritedly, but it just cruises and it does it well. It does a good job. The sound system's awesome if you want to turn up some music, even the non-Bose system. It is missing Bluetooth audio. That is an aftermarket thing that I have put on the car. It does have Bluetooth calling. Really weird to have, you know, calling on Bluetooth, but not audio. It's really strange to me.
Oh boy.
He was gonna go.
He was gonna go.
And so we have entered the grip zone. We are in the classic test road.
It's a heavy car. It's 3,600 pounds. The sidewalls, because I have the 17-inch tires, are pretty big, but around corners, still responsive. Feels confident through the corners. The suspension, stock suspension, is designed very well around the car. The chassis is a very, solid chassis, not a lot of flex. The weight distribution is a little bit far forward for my taste, but I've learned to deal with it. It's, I believe the weight distribution is 53 front, 47 rear. It's not the worst, but a lot of the issue when you try to, track these cars or reduce the weight at least is most of the weight is still in the back. The exhaust, the mufflers on this car do weigh a lot. The trunk is a little bit heavy. You can make that carbon fiber, but there's no point because you're just moving the weight distribution farther and farther forward, which for a car that you want to be sharp and handle well, it's really not what you want. This car I've taken on some pretty tight back roads, and honestly I've stuffed the car with 4 people, and you know, the brakes do overheat a little bit, so that's something to keep in mind if you don't have the sport brakes. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it really carries its weight around the corners. You can find these for good condition, like a really good condition under 100,000 miles. You know, some good specs, anywhere from like 5 to 7. You will not find a manual in this price range, but you can find a pretty fair condition. You know, usually those are going to have, you know, over 140,000 miles on them, to 200,000, depending on the condition of the car. Honestly, I'd say pretty fair price for what you get. You know, 330 horsepower. You get a 7-speed automatic. It's a luxury sedan. It has its problems, which include the electric steering lock sometimes goes bad. It's an inherent flaw with the design, I think. I did have to replace mine. I know there is a heater line in the engine bay that does go bad. There's a little plastic piece that connects two of the lines that does sometimes crack under high mileage cars and high load conditions. I have not had to touch that one yet. You know, the spark plugs are a little bit expensive. I think it's about $200. You have to get OEM spark plugs. 2 mass airflow sensors, $150 each, it's $300 if you need to replace those. Coil pack, $600. You know, just all you know, you want to do a tune-up on a high mileage car, and it is a little bit expensive. Other than that, you know, you really only have to replace all those parts one time. And after you do that, the car, I mean, even before, the car is amazing. It's reliable. You do regular oil changes, and it just works. I will say, I've read on some forums that the timing chain is a problem on these cars, on higher mileage ones, specifically over 150,000 miles. Now, there have been plenty of examples of cars that have gone over 200,000 miles with no timing chain replacement, but I believe they're known to stretch, and you can lose some performance, and it's a big job, so people usually don't do it. You know, if you're in there, it could be something good to think about. Other than the outdated infotainment and the, you know, few things that go wrong, it's a great reliable car that will, you know, get you from point A to point B with a little fun. Yeah, so for people buying this car, you know, pretty much anyone can buy this car as long as you don't care about paying for premium gas and don't care about getting 20 miles per gallon, with some spirited driving included. For an all-around car, it's really solid. It's practical because it's a sedan. You can also get these in the coupe. Has some good luxury features. It has heated side mirrors, a auto-dimming rear view mirror, can get optional navigation, optional Bose audio system that is really good. I have a friend with one. It is a big difference. You definitely notice it. You get, these are 6 inches on the door. With non-Bose. With the Bose, you get 10 inches. The lower end is very noticeable. You get tweeters right here. You get a center speaker. You get 2 speakers in the back on the little deck lid back there. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good mix of sportiness and practicality. It's for people who want a sporty car. You can do spirited driving. You can upgrade it. It shares a lot of parts with the 370Z, but you also don't want to sacrifice, you know, all this practicality, unreliability. So anyone who is looking for that should definitely consider this car. Look at that smile.